and welcome to CSSE's Field Information for Storage Products DVN. I'm Ann McGrath, and today's broadcast will take a look at some of the new and current products that hold particular interest for field service technicians and unit managers. Specifically, we'll be addressing RX50 diagnostics, the RD53 on microvacs, the TU78 FCO, TU79 new product information, the TK70 new product information, and the TK50 FCO. I'm in Digital's Bedford studio with a panel of experts from CSSE, and we hope to provide an informative and interactive session between our panel and our field service audience. Let's begin by introducing the members of our panel. Bart Lasky has been with Digital for 10 years and part of CSSE for the past 2 years supporting low-end disks. Currently, Bart supports all floppy products as well as RC25, RD31, and RD32s. Bart will be speaking about RX50 diagnostics. Raghu Minisandram joined Digital as a field service engineer. He came to CSSE 3 years ago to work in the small disk group and is now a senior maintainability engineer. Raghu will be giving us a detailed look at the RD53 on microvacs. Steve Piazza is another 10-year veteran with Digital. Steve has had 9 years of experience as a field service engineer and is now with CSSE as a maintainability engineer in the tapes group. Steve will be discussing the TU78 FCO and the TU79 new product. Diane Parker has been a member of CSSE since she began her career in Digital 3 years ago. Diane is the project leader for all TK devices. Diane will be giving us a look at the TK70 new product information. Bob Steer has been a senior maintainability engineer with Mass Storage CSE East for 7.5 years. His primary responsibility is the TK50 drive and the Q and U bus controllers. Bob is here to discuss the TK50 FCO. As you can see, we've brought you a panel that is well stocked with experts to answer your questions on storage products. The agenda for today's broadcast will include information surrounding the RX50 diagnostics, a look at the changes in the RD53 on microvacs, an overview of both the TU78 TA78 and the TU79 TA79, the features of the new TK70, and some of the changes instituted in the TK50. The broadcast will be divided into 2 half-hour segments. The panel members will present their information during each of the segments, and each segment will be followed by a question-and-answer session, where the sites can call in with their questions. The number to call here in Bedford is area code 617-276-4800, and we'll have about 10 minutes for each question-and-answer session. So let's begin today with Bart Lasky's overview of the RX50 diagnostics. And Bart, could you begin by telling us about the products that you're responsible for?
Sure, yeah, thank you. I'm responsible for the RX50 flexible disk drive as well as the RX33 flexible disk drive. The differences between the two drives are as follows. The capacity of the RX50 is 0.4 megabytes, while the capacity of the RX33 is 1.2 megabytes. The format of the RX50, as we know, is 10 sectors. The format of the RX33 is 9-sector industry standard format. The RX33 can read and write in 10 sector, but it is primarily an industry standard type of floppy. The media for the RX50 is single-sided, double density, while the media for the RX33 is double-sided, double density. It reads and writes on both sides of the disk. The size of the RX50 is 5¼ inch media, and it is a full height product. The size of the RX33 is 5¼ inch media, but it is a half height product. There are some diagnostic disks that are currently available in the field for RX50 drives. The diagnostics can be used on rainbows as well as deckmates. The diagnostics test the RX50 drive for spindle speed, which is 300 RPM, plus or minus 5 RPM, head alignment, which is plus or minus 1750 microinches, and index to data, which is plus or minus 150 microseconds. The diagnostic for the rainbow for RX50 drives, there are 2 disks, and both disks must be ordered. The part numbers for those discs are, for the DDD, which is the digital diagnostic disc, the part number is 2925534, and the part number for the Rainbow Diagnostic Program disc is 2925535. Both discs must be ordered for you to test your drive on Rainbow systems. If your customer is using a Rainbow, you must ensure that the software that he is using is up to rev. If he's using MS-DOS, the revision that he must be using has to be greater than 2.11. For CP/M, it has to be greater than 2.0. There is also a diagnostic disc for DECmate, and also, like the Rainbow, it is two discs, a DECmate program disc and a digital diagnostic disc. The part number for the program disc is 2926153, and for the digital diagnostic disc, it's 2926152. Those discs cannot be interchanged. In other words, you cannot run a DECmate disc on a Rainbow or vice versa, and both discs cannot be copied. I would advise, if you try to copy it, it will not work properly. If you're ordering media for an ARVIX 50 or an ARVIX 33, you should order digital certified media, which is ARVIX 50K dash and the quantity, or ARVIX 33K and the quantity. Please try to convince your customers to order digital certified media. We also have a head cleaning kit, which very few people are aware of. The head cleaning kit can be used on ARVIX 50s as well as ARVIX 33s, and they should only be used if the system that the floppy is in a dirty environment. The part number for that disk is ARVIX 50K-AC. It can be ordered directly out of digital direct catalogs. One pointer about the disk. This is the disk. This is how it comes in. If you're using it on an ARVIX 50 or an ARVIX 33, it can either be used on one disk or another, not on both. The reason for that is, since the ARVIX 33 is a double-sided disk, this tab has to be pulled off so you will clean both heads. If you use it then on an ARVIX 50 drive, you will hurt the drive tremendously. You have to use the disk either on an ARVIX 50 or an ARVIX 33.
Bart, will all the new systems that use floppies have RX33s instead of RX50s?
Yes, Ann. All new products that are being developed currently will only be using ARVIX 33s if they're using floppy drives.
All right, thank you very much. Now let's move on to the RD53 on Microvax. And Raghu, I understand that in the past on some Microvaxes, errors have accumulated randomly on the disk drives.
Yes, Ann. In the past year, we observed a peculiar symptom on Microvaxes and Micro11s that are based on BA123 cabinets. The customer would call field service and say that there is suddenly an increase in the error count on the disk drive, or he would call field service and mention that he's not able to access a file or two. And as part of the corrective action, you might have replaced the disk drive, or you might have reformatted the disk drive, and in certain cases, you might have even upgraded the RQDX2 controllers with an RQDX3 controller. And by doing any of these things, you might have had the system under control. However, it's possible that the problem might have come back after 3 to 6 months. CSSC and engineering extensively investigated this problem and determined that the cause for unnecessary soft errors was due to cross-coupling of noise in the cable that's connected from the RQDX controller to the M9058 distribution panel. And it has been determined that the fix for this problem would be to replace the unshielded cable, DEC part number 17-00861-01, with a 1-foot shielded cable, DEC part number 17-01520-01. This fix will be available to the field as an FCO in Q1 FY88. The hard copy information that has been provided to you as part of this presentation is a preliminary one, and please monitor future releases of Speed Bulletin for complete details on this FCO. The following serial numbers of systems are subjected to this FCO. All BA123 systems with serial number beginning with BTO, all BA123 systems with serial numbers up to WFO 620, and all BA123 systems up to GAO. This means that all BA123s that have been shipped with RQDX2 controllers are affected by this FCO, and only a part of the BA123 systems that have been shipped with RQDX3 controllers are affected. This is due to the fact that there was an ECO to the BA123-based RQDX3 systems that was introduced in the March 1986 timeframe. We had identified that due to the front panel LED switching, the noise was getting induced into the cable and was corrupting data reads. And as part of a fix, we had upgraded the unshielded cable with a shielded cable. And in fact, this upgrade of unshielded cable to a shielded cable improved the noise immunity and prevented noise corruption due to other noise sources also. In fact, you might have observed recently that the service activity on the RD53s have reduced comparably due to this fact, and it leads you to believe that RD53 based systems on RQDX3 are more reliable than RQDX2 systems. Now, let me tell you briefly the steps involved in installing this FCO. After ensuring that the system meets the FCO, ensure that the customer has backed up its data. Replace the shielded cable. If the system has an RQDX3, ensure that the W23 jumper pin 3 and 4 has a jumper installed. This jumper is needed in addition to a jumper between pins 1 and 2. After installing the FCO, reformat the disk drives only if the customer system had a previous history of developing soft errors. If the system did not have any previous history of developing soft errors, it is not necessary to reformat the disk drive. However, please be sure to make this note in the system management guide or the system reference card in the system for future reference. You might have also seen that there was an ECO on the RQDX3 expander module as per Speed Bulletin number 466. This RQDX3 ECO was released because of data corruption due to power sequencing on the BA23 cabinet and the expansion mod cabinets that had the RD53. The EQ kit number for this ECO is EQ-01456-01, and if you need any further information on this FCO, please refer to Speed Bulletin number 466. Also, you might have heard from some of your customers that the MDM Customer Diagnostics package did not provide format capability. Digital has fixed this problem since November 1986. Any system that has been shipped after November 1986 has customer format capability in their MDM Customer Diagnostics package. However, if you have any customers who do not have Customer Diagnostics formatter, then they can get it from the Digital SDC, Software Distribution Center, for a list price of $200. And the part number for this Customer Diagnostics package on an RX50 media is ZNA01-C3, and on a TK50 media it is ZNA01-C5. If you need any further information on this Customer Diagnostics package, please refer to Speed Bulletin number 465.
Thank you very much, Raghu. Now we'd like to open the program up to your questions on the topics of the RX50 diagnostics and the RD53 on Microvax. You can reach us very easily here in Bedford by calling area code 617-276-4800. Now, we'll only have about 5 or 10 minutes to answer questions, so do give us a call. Again, the number 617-276-4800. And as we wait for your questions from the field, I guess I'll open it up, Bart, with a question for you regarding the differences between the RX50 drive revisions A, B, and C.
There are 3 RX50 drives currently available in the field. That's revision A, revision B, and revision C. There was some talk in the field that one revision was better than another revision, might have been. Well, I'm here to tell you that all revisions are basically the same drive. They operate the same, their specs are the same, they're completely interchangeable. Rev B was a cost reduction drive to Rev A. They took the solenoid out. Rev C, we put in a fix for the Vipertech switch, which was a very limited problem in the field.
Again, our number here in Bedford is area code 617-276-4800. We have a call on the line from Marlboro. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Lloyd Miner. I work in the Marlboro district. And I had a question about the part number for the RX50 RX33 head tuning kit. I believe that said it was RX50K-AC.
It's Lloyd? Yes, Lloyd, you are correct. If there was a misunderstanding, it is H like Harry, C as in Carlisle.
All right, thanks a lot. Thanks for your questions. Raghu, what percentage of the BA123-based systems in the field would you expect to require the shielded cable FCO?
I expect that it's about 10% of the BA123 system.
What does adding the jumper between pins 3 and 4 of W23 on the RQDX3 do, and how does this increase the immunity?
Basically, when you add a jumper between 3 and 4 on the W23 jumper block, you are grounding one more signal pin, and it adds additional ground in the cable path, so provides additional shielding.
Bart, why do some of the RX50 drives fail the diagnostics first time around, but then pass the second time around?
The diagnostic discs are an exact device and an exact testing tool, but you have to remember that the parameters of the RX50 drive are very loose, meaning that when you insert the disc, the difference of where the disc is compared to the head could be off plus or minus 100 or 150 microinches. What happens then is when it goes to do the head alignment testing, if it's plus or minus 150 microinches, could mean the difference of passing or failing a drive. But I will say this, if you put in a diagnostic disc and you fail the drive, you take that disc out, reseat it, and it runs, please do not swap out the drive. That drive is acting the way it should be. We specifically designed the disc to have this flexible type of parameters. So what we did is we made sure that the disc would only fail bad drives and pass good drives.
We have a caller on the line from Bloomington. Good afternoon.
Hi, this is Kathy from the Storage at the Durham office. I've been working extensively with Ken Caruso in the RG53 problem. I've implemented all of these FCO and plus some other things I've done that were suggested before the FCO. And I'm still seeing the problem. Do you have any ideas?
Okay, Raghu.
No, I would suggest that Ken Caruso will be following it up, and I will be following it up with Ken on what else could be done on this.
Raghu, when you talked about the jumper being installed, should that jumper be installed on all of the RQDX3s with all types of RD drives?
That's correct. By adding this jumper, all you do is you add additional ground path and improve the noise immunity.
And under what circumstances would you recommend that a customer use the format capability in the new customer diagnostics package?
Okay, it's not recommended that you reformat a disk drive. It's not an absolute necessity that you have to reformat the disk drive whenever you have a problem. You should keep reformatting to as minimum as possible. And that's
so
how
there
I
are
could
situations where you wouldn't want to do that?
Yeah.
We have another call on the line from Marlboro. Good afternoon.
This is Lloyd again. I had a couple of questions, one for Bart and one for Raghu. I'll start with the one for Bart Lasky. Bart, quite a number of months ago, I remember working with Atlanta in using the diagnostic, the DICAN diagnostic diskette for the deck mate. And it was determined at that time that they did not work properly and we were not to use them. Have those problems been fixed?
Yes, they have. Yes, there was a bug in the DECMate diagnostic disk concerning index to data. The reason for that, well, there's many reasons for that. One of the reasons is that the DECMate disk, the DECMate drive itself does not use index to data, but we decided that the drive, it's still inside the drive, we would test it, and the way that their controller and software operated made it very difficult for Dyson to design their software to test the index to data. We thought we had it, but as fate would have it, we did not. So what happened was we put a hold on the disk, and we went back to the company that designed the disk and had them take out the index to data test completely. That's what they did. That's what they did, sorry. The disk currently is being shipped in the stockroom 17 as we speak, and as soon as they're in the stockroom, I'm going to send out a field blitz to announce that it's released. I didn't want to do that prior to it being in the stockroom, but since now hopefully a lot of people are hearing this, I ask you not to start to place your orders until the field blitz is out.
Okay, and you had a question for Raghu, I believe, also.
Thank you, Brad. Raghu, I had a question in regards to the static brush phone on the IT-53. In regards to the noise, I was wondering if anybody is going to do anything about it, or if it has been any...
Yes, Lloyd, let me answer this. There was a PRISM submitted on this problem, and we are working very closely with engineering on resolving this issue, and I would expect that very soon, I would say less than a month, you would see a result on this and a solution for the field on the acoustical noise that's generated by the static ground spring.
Any other questions? Okay, we have Atlanta on the line. Atlanta, thanks for waiting. Good afternoon.
Yeah, this is Tim O'Neill calling from Atlanta, and I had a call concerning the RX-33 drive and RX-50. If I were to format a third-party diskette, double-sided plug-in drive, on the RX-50 drive, we're saying that I can
Right. Okay, now,
We lost the very tail end. Why can't we format? Could you just repeat the tail end of that question, Atlanta?
Okay, I get a format error. It's possible to reliably format those previously formatted diskettes on the vaccine, which is the 50 seconds per track format,
okay.
instead of the 8 or 9 or 10 seconds per track format.
You should, I believe you should be able to format the RX-33 on the VaxMate in the VaxMate format as well as the industry standard 9-sector format. If you're having problems with that, it's chances are very good that the problem is lying not in the flexible drive itself, but in the software that you're using. Now, I don't know if the software that you have is from digital. Hopefully, it is. But if it is, I would make sure that it's up to Rev and get a hold of the VaxMate software people to find out what the problem is, because the drive is capable of doing that.
All right, thank you very much.
Both formats, but if the diskette is not merged from the manufacturer, that is, it's previously formatted,
Right.
and the 9-sector and 10-sector diskette cannot be reformatted. Reliably at 15 seconds per track.
It's a VaxMate software type of issue. The drive is capable of that if the software was operating to allow it to do it. Have you tried by any chance bulk erasing the disk and trying to reformat it? That shouldn't affect it, but who's to say it might? Excuse me? If you have a bulk eraser, you should always, 100% of the time, be able to wipe out the disk and try again. I'm not too sure I understand how it could be sometimes reliable.
I am trying bulk erase
That could be, because, I mean, if you put the disc on top of a strong TV, you should be able to bulk erase it. So I would look into maybe looking into making sure that the bulk eraser is working properly, and try it again. If that does not work, get a hold of the VaxMate people, and they might be able to help you a little bit better than myself.
All right.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you, Atlanta. Bart, what can be done to prevent incompatibility between drives?
Many things. I don't think we have really enough time on this particular show to go through them all, but one of a few things that I'd like to say is, number one, like I mentioned before, on Rainbow as well as DECMate, please make sure that the software is up to rev. If it is not, you will have compatibility problems. You should, when you get the new software, back up all your disks, bulk erase all the old ones, then you could start to recycle the bulk erased ones. You know, it's a never-ending flow of bulk erasing and recopying on your new floppy with the new software. That's number one. The other thing is, when you're handling the media, be careful not to put your fingers on the media itself, and make sure that the whole of the flexible media is not crumpled or not bent up. If it starts to get crumpled or dented, what will happen is, as you insert the floppy into the drive, you might not get a clean fit all the time. When that happens, that will also enhance your incompatibility type problems.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you for your questions. We'll have more questions in about another 20 minutes. Now we'd like to move into the second half of our program with Steve Piazza, who's going to give us an overview of the TU-78 FCO and the TU-79 new product. And Steve, can you begin by telling us what's the purpose of this FCO?
Yes, Ann. The purpose of this FCO is to improve the product. We've improved the product in areas that we determined to be problems based on feedback from the customer base and from the field service organization. The problems that it solved were in the area of GCR write, PE read, and a number of spurious errors that people got due to internal electrical drive noise. We solved these problems by making some circuit changes on the preamp board to rectify some design problems. We also redesigned the right driver circuits, and we modified the amp tie circuits. We also restructured the grounds within the transport, and the formatter read channels have been modified. The benefits to the FCO are the fact that you'll have improved GCR read-write performance. You'll also have improved PE read performance, and you'll also have the improved ability to interchange tapes. We've also reduced the number of adjustments in the drive. There's now only one potentiometer on the right PC board assembly. As a result of that, the read gain and write current adjustments are now easier to perform. We've also increased the mean time between failure and mean time between call on this product. And as an added bonus, there is now minimal operator intervention required during backup. This FCO is applicable to any unit that is exhibiting these symptoms in the areas of GCR write or PE read. Implementation of this FCO will be as per the implementation plan per each area. The U.S. area, Europe, and GIA will have their own implementation plans. And allocation of this FCO will be as per that implementation plan. The procedure for installing this FCO includes swapping out some hardware. You will have to swap out the right PC board assembly, the preamp PC board assembly, and the cable that connects the right PC board to the preamp PC board assembly. You'll also be adding a preamp bracket, a preamp shield, and a cover. You'll also have to modify some hardware. You'll have to modify the read PC board assembly. You'll have to add 2 capacitors to each channel, and for a 9-channel drive, that will be a total of 18 capacitors. In the master units, you'll have to go into the formatter and replace one of the capacitors on each of the M8950 read channel modules. You'll also have to go behind the unit to the terminal strip A2TB1 and shorten the ground cable. There are no compatibility issues with this FCO, with the exception of the fact that the right board and the preamp board cannot be downward compatible with a non-FCO drive. However, the read module and the M8950s are both upward and downward compatible. There are a number of tools required to install this FCO, and you have a list in front of you of all those tools. However, I'd like to point out one special tool that's going to be required for the FCO and will not be able to be used on a non-FCO drive, and that is the Regain Right Current Adjustment Box. And that can be ordered by digital part number 29-26619. The time to perform this FCO should be approximately 3.5 hours, and information for LARS reporting is included in the package that you have in front of you, as well as on the FCO.
Now that you've improved the product with the FCO, Steve, will all future shipments of the TU-78s have these changes?
No, as a matter of fact, we've ceased production of the TU-78, and we now have an enhanced repackaged version of the TU-78, which is the TU-79. The repackaging of the TU-79, as you can see from the slide, includes the fact that we've put it into a world cab. As you can see, we have an upper door assembly and a lower door assembly for maintenance access to the drive. And in the top center, there is a Lexan window that slides up and down for operator access. We've also improved the cooling in the product, and that's by adding 2 fans, as well as rotating the card cage 90 degrees to optimize its airflow. The card cage also swings out from the back of the unit to facilitate changing of the 2 servo modules. The enhancements to this TU-79 include all the changes that I talked about previously in the FCO, as well as the fact that we've added a more reliable 4-matter power supply, an H7423-AA, which, as opposed to having individual regulators for the power, has a single through module. Installation of this new TU-79 drive is very similar to the TU-78, with the exception of the world cab, which the cabinet interconnect would now be approximately 9 bolts, and the fact that the cable routing from the master to the slaves will now run up the side of the unit and across the top on special brackets. If you are adding a TU-79 onto an existing TU-78, you will require an expander kit, as well as if you're doing the converse of that, adding a TU-78 onto a TU-79. For any add-ons, the salesperson should be providing this as part of the customer's order. However, if you need to order this, the TU-79 expander kit is part number TU-79-EA, and the TU-78 expander kit is digital part number TU-79-EB. Both of these parts can be, part numbers can be found in the option module list as well. Maintenance on this product follows the TU-78. We have the same philosophy. PMs will be done in the same fashion, and it will be swapped at the through level. We've improved the document set with this product. We believe it's much better than what we had previously for the TU-78, and there's a list in front of you of all these documents. One that's really improved is the service manual, which now we've included the master version of the STI mass bus, as well as the slave transports in one manual. There are, however, 2 manuals that are on your list that are for internal use only. To obtain copies of these, you'll need to send some mail, either via VAX mail, deck mail, or all-in-one. And if you're sending via VAX mail, you'll want to send that to Gramps, ;tapes, CSSE. And if you're sending via deck mail or all-in-one, you'll want to send that to Tapes, CSSE, @Gramps, @VaxMail. And when you send this mail, please give us your name, your badge number, your cost center, and your reason for needing this document set.
Steve, thank you. What variants of the TU-79, TA-78 are going to be offered?
And we'll be offering both the 50 and 60 hertz versions of the Master STI, the Master Mass Bus, as well as the Slave Transport.
All right, thank you very much, Steve. Now we'd like to turn our attention to the TK70 new product information with Diane Parker. And Diane, can you tell us about the TK70 cartridge tape subsystem?
Yes, Ann.
The TK70 tape subsystem is the second member of the TK 5¼ cartridge tape family from Digital. The tape drive is available for Q-Bus systems and has a capacity of 296 megabytes. The tape moves at 100 inches per second, it has 48 tracks, and records data at 10,000 bits per inch. The transfer rate of the TK70 subsystem is 125 kilobytes per second, and the drive contains caching capabilities. The TK70 subsystem was designed with extensive error recovery and redundancy in the drive logic and controller logic. For example, the drive logic contains read-after-write amplitude and phase margining, which forces rewrites on marginal tape. It also contains a 44-stepping read-retry algorithm in the drive logic, and it contains extensive redundancy in the read recovery scheme. In summary, every possible measure is taken within the drive logic to recover from a data error before a hard error is logged. The most significant difference you'll notice between the TK50 and the TK70 is the front bezel. The front bezel has been redesigned to be as user-friendly as possible. As you can see, there are now 3 LEDs on the front bezel. There is an orange Write Protect LED, a yellow Tape in Use LED, and a green Operate Handle LED. The orange Write Protect LED is the same color orange as the Write Protect indicator on the cartridge, and it will illuminate for 3 reasons. It will turn on if the user puts the cartridge in Write Protect mode. It will turn on if the user issues a no-write command through VMS or another operating system. And it will also turn on if the user inserts a TK50 recorded cartridge. The TK70 has the capability to read TK50 tapes, however, it will not overwrite them. The TK70 subsystem also contains a beeper. This beeper works in conjunction with the green Operate Handle light. When the tape unloads, you'll hear a slight audible beep about the same tone and volume as a wristwatch, an electronic wristwatch would beep. This lets the user know when it's okay to lift the handle. There is also an unload button on the TK70. The TK70 will auto-load the tape when the user lowers the handle, therefore eliminating the need for a load button. The fall conditions on the TK70 are indicated by all 3 lights flashing simultaneously. In addition to this, the TK70 has the capability to detect if a cartridge has been inserted with either a missing or a damaged leader in the cartridge. In this situation, the drive will sense the lack of presence of the leader and begin flashing the green Operate Handle light, thus telling the user that the only thing they can do at that time is to lift the handle and remove the cartridge. In addition to this, there has been a label added to the handle which contains brief operating instructions for the user. The receiver assembly and all the leader linking mechanisms within the drive have been redesigned extensively. These new links and mechanical parts comprise the major part of the TK50 FCO, and Bob Steer will be reviewing the changes in detail a little bit later on. The TK70 will use a new cartridge tape called the Compact Tape 2, and it will be denoted by a change in the front of the tape. As you can see, the tape is physically the same as the original compact tape. However, the tape within the cartridge has been tested to higher standards and tighter parameters. This was done to compensate for the higher recording densities and the narrower track widths of the TK70. The Compact Tape 2 will eventually replace the compact tape and will eventually be the only tape available to both TK70 and TK50 users. However, the TK70 will always be able to read TK50 tapes whether they are recorded on compact tape or Compact Tape 2.
Diane, will software be distributed on TK70 cartridges?
Software will continue to be distributed on cartridges recorded in TK50 mode, that is the lower density mode, thus ensuring backward compatibility for all of our TK50 customers.
All right, thank you very much, Diane. Now, Bob Steer is going to take a look at the TK50 and the recently released FCO. Bob, what are some of the TK50's capabilities?
Thank you, Ann. The TK50 operates at has 22 tracks, serpentine recorded, operates at 75 inches per second at 6,667 bits per inch, with a formatted capacity of 94 megabytes per cartridge. Of the drives that have been released in the field so far, you're going to see different types of variations. One is a Leprechaun box, which you have here in front of you. It contains its own self-contained power supply, and several changes have been made both to the power supply into the mounting bezel in the box itself. Another variation that you see the TK50 mounted in is the BA123 standard Microvax 2 box. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll see the TK50 mounted. The TK50 is also mounted in the vertical plane in what we call the BA23 box, such as used in the 1153 systems. The TK50 cartridge is marked compact or compact tape 1 with a standard formatted capacity of 94 megabytes. It is used only on the TK50 in read-write mode. Some of the changes that we've instituted in the TK50 are modified read-write parameters for improved read-write reliability. We've improved the tachometer. We've tightened the head specifications. We've improved the solenoid to eliminate sticky solenoids and replacement of drives for that purpose. We've improved the linear actuator, or the head positioner. And we've had a major redesign of the load mechanics that Diane mentioned earlier. All of these changes are included in the TK50 FCO. As you can see in this cutaway version of the TK50, we've changed all of the load mechanics in this area of the latching assembly to make it less susceptible to operator-induced errors both in the load and unload cycles. We've also made it less susceptible to unlatching and the thrashing around and destroying of the leader, which obviously many of you have seen before. It senses the leader latching has been disconnected and will not allow it to thrash around as previously done. We've modified the receiver assembly to make it a more positive loading area. We've modified the tape guide in this area right here to allow better guiding of the tape into the head area and also provide more clearance for the modified receiver assembly. In the cartridge itself, we've made several changes in the area of the locking area for the door to make it more positive. We've redesigned the latching area here to eliminate the teasing latch up where an operator would place a cartridge partially into the drive and try to remove it before it was latched up. We've added changes to the bezel by improving the ground area in the rear of the bezel. We've added mechanical clearances in the area of the handle to make it less susceptible to jamming. We've added some conductive material to the plastic to make it less susceptible to operator-induced ESD errors. And we've also added in our FCO assembly a warning label on the handle itself that says, handle lift only when red light off, green light on. I think that's pretty well self-explanatory. Some additional changes that we've made in the Q-Bus controller, the M7546 module, under EQ 1442-01, which was a microcode update. We removed the problem with the fictitious drive addresses, which many of you saw as MUA 04224. We've removed the problem with some software not enabled messages, and we've also eliminated certain systems hangs in 11 systems and with DECX diagnostics. In the Unibus controller, the M7547, with EQ 1428-01, we removed most of these same problems in the Unibus applications. In the future, we have other changes that are anticipated in the drive microcode to eliminate unknown drive faults being reported in error-log. We've changed some of the information that's being reported to the system during an error. And we're also going to improve the start-stop tolerations for margining to eliminate possible Caltrack overwrites and misposition errors, especially during RSX verifies and backups. In the MDM area, we've changed the driver under the control of Tape Engineering Diagnostics, and we're also working with the MDM engineering people to make their information that is provided on the TK50 tape to cause the MDM load sequence to operate a little faster.
All right, thank you very much, Bob. We've covered a lot of ground here, and I would hope some of you folks have a few questions, and we're going to take your questions for, about 5 or 10 minutes. Again, the number to call us here in Bedford is area code 617-276-4800. And Bob, I'm going to start with you. I understand there is a TK50 support seminar tape and an operator familiarization tape that are available now. How would we get a hold of that?
Yes, Ann, there are 2 tapes. One was a videotape of a seminar that was done in Atlanta, Georgia last year. It's about 2 hours long and goes into a fairly in-depth use of the TK50. It's available from me directly at gramps.steer or at 617-841-3335. I have some limited copies available. The other 13-minute tape was provided and done to give the operators a little more familiarization with the TK50 uses. It is available directly from me or from training, and that number is EY-2898E-U1-001. I have quite a number of copies available, and they're available directly.
All right, thank you very much. We have a caller on the line from Marlboro. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Bob, I had 2 questions. In regards to the white leader tape, I know many months ago that was a no-no, and I see you have it on the drive that you have there, and I'm just wondering if that's being reinstituted or...
No, the reason I put up there is that the white shows up a little better on camera with a black background. If it was a black on black, you wouldn't be able to see it very well. It's strictly for demonstration purposes, and you're absolutely right. We don't use white leaders anymore.
And your next question, Marlboro.
The question was in regards to the information label that's on that drive. I've installed a number of these drives, and I haven't seen that information label on any of them yet, and I was wondering if that's something new that just came out in the last week or so, or what's the status of that?
That was put into the drives in the FCO refurb area up in Salem and our European Nijmegen locations. The first place that was cut in is that all of the drives that you see coming out as E1 and the EQ kits will have that label on it. Subsequently, we're pushing it back into manufacturing, but it takes a little bit longer to put it in manufacturing than it does for us to cut it into the FCO process.
All right, thank you very much, Marlboro. We have California on the line now. Good afternoon.
My name is Buddy from Southern Cal District. I have a big question for the gentleman who just asked me minutes ago about the detail on the door handle. I have to install FCO for the gate drive, and 1 hour before they have the detail. I just wonder when that is due.
Yeah, the original 400 or so drives that were released as EQ kits were seed stock when we pulled 100% of the spares back out of stockroom 17. So consequently, once those went back through the repair cycle, and all subsequent drives that go through the repair cycle since July 1st do have those on them.
Does that answer your question, California?
That's it right now.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I couldn't...
Yeah, we had trouble hearing that, and I think that that's probably a different program that will be dealing with that. All right, thank you. Now I believe we have Atlanta on the line. Good afternoon. Can I just interrupt you for a second? We're having trouble hearing you, so if you can just speak up and speak right into the mouthpiece, it might be a little easier for us.
What's the first release of MDM should expect that will support the TK70?
Okay. I don't know that right off the top of my head. I believe it's MDM release 121, but I can get back to you on that if you want to give me a call.
We'll have somebody on the line take your name and number down, and then Diane can get back to you when she gets that information. Marlboro, hello, you're on the line.
Hello?
Hello, Marlboro.
I have a question for Steve.
Yep.
Steve, we're going to be looking at different kits for the TA-79 as far as spares.
Is there going to be a DK2 kit? And if so, what should we get?
There will be a kit available. I don't have the part number offhand. That part number will be in the support starter kit, as well as the field implementation plan for the product. The only real difference will be the right module, the preamp module, the associated cable, and the single module within the H7423AA power supply.
All right. Another question, or is that it, Marlboro? I guess that's it. We have another, but somebody else is on the line with us from Marlboro. Boy, you're busy out there this afternoon. Good afternoon.
Hi, it's Lloyd again.
Uh-oh. Hi, Lloyd.
The question for Bob is there any significant difference between the E1, E2, and E3 reds on the TK50 drive?
No, there isn't. They're just, the E1, E2, and E3 are functionally the same. The only changes were the E1 is a rework drive that has gone back through our FCO process. The E2 and E3 were minor changes made for the robotic station in the Springfield production line. But functionally, they're all the same.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
All right. Thanks, Lloyd. Diane, could you tell me more about the caching capabilities and what it does for the subsystem?
Sure. The caching capabilities in the TK70 really enhance the performance of the TK70. In the controller and the TK50 controllers, the microprocessor sort of sat right on the bus. In the TK70, that is not the case with the buffering capabilities that it has. That greatly enhances the performance of the controller and also makes it a better Q-bus performer.
Okay. Steve, what diagnostics, I mean, this may be covering ground that we've done before, but I think it's good to repeat things sometimes. What are the diagnostics will be used on the TU79 and the TA79 tape subsystems?
The diagnostics will be the exact same diagnostics that are presently used on the TU78 and TA78 products.
All right, very good. I believe we have another call on the line. From Southern California, good afternoon.
Hi, this is John. I'm from California. This is for Bob here. Hi, John. I've got some questions about the placement of the EDA50 controller. There seems to be some controversy about where it's placed on the bus. It's being shipped at the end of the bus behind the RQDX3. Where is it supposed to be placed? And also, where is it being placed in regards to the CUNA and other compromises?
Well, as far as it being put on the bus, theoretically it can be put anywhere, but I've heard people say that it runs better in position 4 out past the RQDX3 controller. I think the Microvax people have been experimenting within the last 2 months of doing all of the timing considerations all the way up and down the bus to see if there's any particular place that they're going to say it should be put. Right now, there doesn't seem to be any firm placement as to where it should work, but obviously you're going to have to go probably a little bit by the individual customer area that you're operating in. Right now, I couldn't say it should be any one particular place, although from what I understand, most places are putting in a position 4. Does that answer your question, John?
The fact that when they try to do online backup, there seems to be a lot of soft errors, some sort of interaction problems from the bus. Has anybody looked into that type of problem?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there's a task force that's been in place for the past 2 months, and the SASE group up in Tewksbury has been very, very active in this, working not only with tape engineering and CSSE from all 3 groups, but the diagnostic and hardware groups from the mid-range VAC group as well. They've been meeting every 2 weeks, and their report should be due out probably in the next 30 days. And I probably can give a better answer to that in about the next 30 days.
Thanks for your question, John. Steve, I'm curious, what are the prerequisites for installing the FCO you were talking about?
As far as the hardware goes, there is no prerequisite. However, for the engineer, the prerequisite is that we have a trained engineer, either through formal Bedford training or OJT on the product.
How will this system recognize a TU79 transport?
The TU79 transport will have a serial number of 50,000 or greater, and that will be entered in hexadecimal on 4 switch packs that are located on the MIA PC board assembly. The information for setting these switches will be part of the installation manual.
All right, thanks very much. We don't have a lot of time left, but Diane, you spoke earlier about stepping retries. What exactly do you mean by that?
Okay, on the TK50, if it encountered a read data error on the drive would reposition itself and try to recapture that data approximately 15 times. On the TK70, with the decreased width in the tracks, what the TK70 does is it'll step ahead slightly and retry, and then it'll readjust again and retry, and it'll continue to do that 44 times till it recaptures that data.
And you know, you talked also about, I guess, will the user be aware that the error recovery is taking place?
Only in how it affects the performance, that is the time it's taking the drive to try to recover that data. Each retry that the drive does would get logged as a soft error. Okay, because there's 44 and because of the increased density of the TK70, that could mean an awful lot of soft errors being reported when nothing was really wrong. Therefore, this algorithm also contains a divide down algorithm so that depending on the type of error, either 1 in 50 or 1 in 100 of these errors will actually be being reported back to the operating system. This is all explained in great detail in the technical manual. Okay, however, if the field engineer runs diagnostics, they will always get a 1-for-1 soft error count with the diagnostics.
Now, you talked about the beeper that's in the TK70. Why is that there?
Well, the team that was in place investigating some of the problems with the TK50, one of the things they found in the operator-induced error areas was that TK50s are usually mounted in, as will be the case with TK70s, and the lower cabin is like the BA-123, and operators oftentimes don't look at the lights but just reach down underneath and tug on the handle until the tape will actually unload, and that can cause a lot of problems in the load-unload area of both drives. So it was decided that the audible beeper would give the operator, without having to look down at the lights, an indication of when it was okay to lift the handle. And so far our field test customers are very pleased with it.
All right, thank you very much. And we have run out of time, so as our broadcast draws to a close today, we do hope that we've been able to answer the questions you have about current and new storage products. If you are interested in more information regarding RX50 diagnostics, updates in the RD53 on Microvacs, information for the TU78, TA78, the TU79, TA79, the new TK70, or the TK50 FCO, you can send by Vax mail to Gramps, Tapes, CSSE. Or if you are using deck mail or all-in-one, you can send your request to Tapes, CSSE, at Gramps at Vaxmail. And for hard copy requests via internal mail, send to Tapes, CSSE, SHR 01-4/D16, and via outside mail, 333 South Street, Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, 01545. I would like to thank all of our panelists and all of you in the audience for participating in this DVN. Have a good afternoon.